Markham Perspectives. I'm your host, Michael Taylor. We had the distinct honor of sitting down with our mayor, Mayor Roger Agpawa, a couple of days ago. And let me tell you, he talked about economic development, public works, and just being a mayor that is hands-on. A lot of people see the mayor, he's out of his truck, he's walking around, looking at sidewalks, looking at buildings. Let's listen in to hear what our mayor had to say. Mayor, you take great pride in your upbringing in Markham. You refer to it often. What early experiences can you recall from your youth that made you feel good about the city of Markham?
One of the things that always stands out in my mind is that Markham was a community that was of neighborhoods and where we played baseball in the streets when we were kids, and then we had organized sports where we played baseball in the parks, and many of our fathers or our grandfathers and uncles and other relatives played with us in organized sports. And in those neighborhoods we grew up and we learned about camaraderie, we learned about team sports and team playing. And so those are the things that you can remember about Markham in any community, to where you grow up and it's a neighborhood place where you go from one friend's house to play basketball in his backyard, and then you might jump over the fence and go home to your dinner waiting for you when you get home. And then you walk to school in the local area, and you walk back and forth to school, and you run home from school, things like that. And so those are the things that I remember as a kid coming up in Markham, which brings me to now in terms of neighborhoods are still needed. Those camaraderies and those places of growth are still needed in a community. And those are the basis is, obviously I don't want kids playing in the street now.
Right.
Not with the way it is now, we can't do that, but we still need the organizational type efforts of communities and neighborhoods and parenting to reach back out again, to let the children grow up in a good, unified way in the community. It's really important. It's the root of the community.
Now, Mayor, obviously you love to serve, right? You have a servant's heart. As a firefighter and then a fire chief and now the mayor of the city of Markham. Where did that service come from? That service, how did you get that? Where did that come from?
You know, I have to be honest. Those things are, some things you can teach people and some things you can develop in people, and then some things are just kind of instinctive. And I think in my case, I probably have to say that it is relatively instinctive. As they say, many are called and few are chosen to do certain things. And I think that I just sometimes I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Maybe that you got chose to do something. I certainly, it's the old adage, I can give you two things I have to say about being chosen or called to do something. It's, you got 4 people in line, they say, we want some volunteers, and then 3 people step back and you're still standing there. That's right. And so you wind up getting chose, right? But it never happened that way. Sometimes in the basketball team picking, sometimes I don't want that guy on my team,
Right.
You don't get chose because you're not the tall guy.
Right, that's right.
But, so you start to understand that instinctively you do something else. So I don't play basketball as well as somebody else. I did play until I was in sophomore high school, and then that was it. Mm-hmm. But I had a call into service, and I seemed to be pretty well at working on an ambulance. Mm-hmm. And that seemed to be my niche, to be able to help people in the worst way you can find and help them heal. And so then that just develops into more of leadership that you get chose to do. People say, hey, can you do this, or would you do that? And they ask you to do it. But I think also you have a drive or passion where you want to do it. And so I think that's part of that effort of being chosen to do something inside, that you really feel that way.
Now, Mayor, think back now on the last few years. What has been some of your most joyous moments and the moments that have been most fulfilling to you in your administration or as the mayor of the city of Markham?
I think two things that stand out, probably not what people think, that a mayor would say right away is something that something you'd find so joyful to be about. But for me, I say two things. One, I think a joyous matter for me is still one of the same things I come to work every day to see, and that is I'm able to see the result of change. I'm able to see the fruit of the labor, or you're able to see the work of your hand, and you're able to see that you made a difference or a change, and you feel good about that. Well, what do I mean in specific? Take an abandoned house or abandoned building that's full of shrubbery and weeds and grass and trees, and you can't find the front door because there's so much garbage and trash around it. And then in the last couple of years, we've come in and we've transformed properties that were just making your town look like it was blighted, and it was desolate in some places, and almost you can liken it to, it might be in a third world country in some places, where you wouldn't think that something like that would exist in the inner city, or you would think that it would be in some metropolitan city. But here you are in a small community in a suburb, and you have that kind of blight in your community. And then you go in and you transform it with some guys to give you part two of what makes, I'm telling you, part one of joy. Mm-hmm. But now you got part two where you got some guys that got a second chance to go help you clean it. Mm-hmm. So the second thing was, now you have some guys who had an opportunity to get a job where nobody would take them to give them a job. And you give them that opportunity. Of course, you tell them, hey, listen, you got to pass a drug test.
Right.
You can't, drink is legal, but, you can't have too much of that either. But, this is your opportunity to say, you're going to do it. And then they do come and do that. They help you clean up that property. They clear all the garbage and the debris. And then we board up that property and keep it safe for kids and things like that. We have had hundreds of these homes like that. And then we paint the boards, and we paint the boards a dark color black, so it blends in to the community. And then you look at that property and you look at something next to it, and you can see the results. And then you see the guys, how they feel good about the accomplishment that they did something, and they made something, and they transformed it and made it look
really nice. Sense of pride, don't they?
Sense of pride. And then the same people, the same guys, they come to work and they pass that house and they said, I had something to do with that. That's huge.
Now one thing that stands out, Mayor, is the senior population in the city of Markham and all the good things that go on. You really, really reach out to the senior population. Many times you can be seen going to the senior facilities and poking your head in, and the seniors know you by name, by face. Where does that come from? What is that? Is that just a commitment that you've made to really look out for the seniors, or tell me a little bit about that.
I for myself, for me personally, my grandparents raised me. So my mother traveled and wound up kind of leaving me behind. She's a good woman. I love her dearly. But my grandmother did most of her. So I was raised by another generation, my uncles and grandfather and my grandmother. And so I'm kind of an old soul to begin with. So for me to get with a lot of seniors and to take the time to talk to them about all their walks of life, just to be able to take time with seniors and to realize the value. When they say golden years, they're in golden years for themselves, obviously, but they're not used goods. They're certainly by far not damaged.
Right. But
there's some that have stories that you can relate to. There's many things. I think it's seniors that help you make proverbs of life.
Right.
I really believe that. And I believe to sit by those, at the feet of those that are wise.
That's right.
And you shouldn't be beyond listening to them and all of what they have to offer. And so I think I've been pretty fortunate and pretty blessed to be able to have a senior population in the community that we already had some programs preset for them. We had been doing them previously to me even coming. And we've just been going on for a while. And so we've just been able to up the ante and make it that much better and further it for them. They're on the other side of their lives. Let's see. I think at one point, everybody says, you keep living long enough, you'll be a senior.
Well,
And that's for sure.
that you have done an outstanding job with the senior population of the city of Markham. Now, Mayor, when you think about your 5 biggest achievements that you've been able to accomplish, what stands out? 5 of them that you say, hey, these are the ones that really meant a lot to me personally. Which were they?
Well, I think it almost goes like with the question you asked a little earlier to me about some things with accomplishments, but now to narrow it down, it still isn't what people think the answers might be. Some people, they may think that they need to, maybe it's some big grandiose thing that I would say that is some big major accomplishment. But what I'll say first of all, I took on a government that had its challenges in terms of finance and personnel. And one of the biggest things that I knew and that I had pledged coming into office, not just through elections, it's just being a person that would come into a job and saying, hey, what are you going to do? Well, I knew that we had to clean our city up, and I knew we had to make it safe. So the biggest first accomplishment I would say is that we transform public works.
Okay.
Public works is one of what you call in the community is one of the big 3, so to speak, as they say in a community. You have police, fire, and public works. But public works was kind of like third on the rung. Not for me. I'm an old fireman, obviously. A lot of people know my background as a fire chief and a fireman for, over 40 years in the fire service. But I knew that communities are transformed and changed by public works and all the services that they do. That's why they say it's a public work. I mean, there's nothing that's really off limit for those guys to do, and they make anything else and break your city. They can make or break your community, I believe. And so the biggest thing we did was we really invested in those individuals that worked there. We restored a sense of pride and understanding about what the mission and the goal was for them. And they get it, so they, again, I say that these are same guys, everybody doesn't live in town that works here, but, we try to honor that as much as we can. But these are some guys that leave driving out of town and driving back in, and they see the results of what they did the day before. And they take pride in knowing that I helped this place get just that much better. And they're part of that. So there's buy-in, instant buy-in, because there's ownership. It belongs to them. So that was the first thing I would say. The other thing that I would say is that when it came to building and code enforcement in the city, we had to make drastic changes because building and code make a standard of living in a community. And there had to be a standard set. And, I say things that are not popular sometimes in terms of, hey, listen, we're not forcing anybody to live here in Markham. You can leave anytime you want. But if you choose to stay, there's a standard of living, and the building department will tell you that on the front end, and the code department will tell you in the back end how you have to behave to live here. And I think that's only fair for Markham as well as it is anywhere else.
Was it hard, Mayor, to implement that new change? Was it hard to get people to see that we're striving for a certain standard of living? Was it hard to implement that change with the citizens?
Culture is always hard to change, but I'm an old. Again, I said I was an old soul, but comes that sometimes of what you believe, and I believe something, at least biblically, it says that wisdom's pounded in. So I'll take my chances trying to pound in what I think is wise for this community.
Yes, sir.
And that is to tell them that this is how we live. This is the line where it's at. There's no threshold here. This is the line. Just like any neighboring community that does well and it prospers. It does that because it keeps that standard, and we're not going to do any less. So building and code it was another area that we had to change. So that was the second thing that we really wanted to do. The other thing that comes with that that's kind of included is that from setting that standard, as I said, with public works, and then trying to set the standard of housing and making sure there's a standard of living, now you set the stage for development to come to you.
Right.
Because people look at you aesthetically different and they take you serious about what they see. And it's not all of what you say, it's all of what you do.
Action, right?
Action.
Action.
You have to back it up, and it's not hard to do that. But you know, again, I said the word culture. So it takes time for people to really understand that. But now they're seeing the results of it. So now, here you would have thought that maybe Amazon would have been number one. No, Amazon's like number three because, you know, we said that we were going to do certain things in this community, but Amazon's not here if we don't set the stage.
So you had to. So basically, within the last 2 years, Mayor, you had to change a culture of having a new standard of taking care of properties, making sure that things were running the way that a city should run, like any other city, right?
Any other city, and then you wind up with Amazon had been in Markham prior. We had Navistar that was interested in the same site. We had FedEx that was interested in the same site. We had Walmart that was interested in the same Walmart distribution, not Walmart store.
Right.
And so we've had several people there. And this time we were able to keep Amazon there. Why? We kept Amazon there because they saw the commitment to trying to clean up the community and make it safe and taking these basic fundamentals seriously and being able to govern business. And we kept them in the room and we did it. And that's what happened. Yeah, there were four runners that did different things on that land and were trying to develop it, but they didn't close it or keep them. And we did that. We were able to do that by these same fundamental principles that anybody else does anywhere else, anywhere USA, if your town's successful. And so you'll have people that'll challenge you about, and they'll try to make that it's minuscule. It's not. These communities that are around us, and you see them prosper, they prosper because they take pride in those areas and they don't compromise. And we won't either. That's why, you know, I say, nobody's holding a gun to your head to live here.
You want things to be right, you want things to be just, and you want Markham to be like some of your other communities. You want things to be right?
It has to be, you know, I mean, there has to be, and it has to start at City Hall. It has to be in leadership, and that's why they call them city fathers. I mean, I thought I fathered enough my own kids, but they call me city father, and so I'm not the only person in city council. They take that serious too, and so that would be the third thing. And then obviously, the police and fire are right the next two rungs, which would be the five, because the police department has to keep you safe. We've been transforming the police department. You know, it's had its woes. Departments and cities have their woes. You try to work through those issues, and you get people to take their job seriously. And you know, you see adages and different cliches and slogans on sides of cars and buildings, and it says to protect and serve. Well, my thing is we'll get busy doing it,
Right.
because we want police officers that are going to serve us and they're going to take care of the residents and the community and protect them. And that's what they're there for. And people want that security, they want that safety, and they deserve it, and they pay for it. And so that was the next thing that I believe that we were, and we're still in that process even today, to keep trying to transform our police department and make it a strong, vibrant police department.
So Mary, so would it be safe to say that all of these things are a continual work in progress, right? You're continuing to work on your whole vision for the city of Markham, right?
Absolutely.
Now, with the fire department, because you are obviously a fire chief, firefighter for over 40 years, was that an easy one for you working in trying to get what did you have to do in the fire department?
Not much, you know. The one thing that I knew, you know, I almost want to say those poor firefighters here, they thought they probably would have been the first guys in the room to get anything, but they've been like almost a stepchild. But you know what? Firemen are methodical and routine driven, and in most cases, they're typically low maintenance. And so we've been pretty fortunate to have a group of guys that just wake up and know what they're supposed to do, and they on a regular basis go at it and they do it. I think that the greatest praise I can give them, and probably because of the understanding, is that we went to contract negotiations and settled the contract without attorneys in about 45 minutes.
How do you do that, man? How is that possible?
It's just understanding about knowing what you should argue about.
Right.
I mean, most people, they know the difference of when you should be arguing about something and when you shouldn't. I mean, You know, contracts in any day and age are not, they're more about benefits and privileges than, you know, trying to protect the environment that somebody works in or the conditions they work in. We're not talking about that here in a labor contract for a community. I mean, what are we talking? We're talking about, let's make sense about what we're asking the taxpayers to pay you and what we're going to give you to protect them, and let's make it fair. And then we leave the room. And that's it.
And it all works out there from that point. Now, Mayor, let's talk about, obviously, Amazon is here in town, and they are a community partner, right?
Yes.
Now, when you look at future developments in the city of Markham, can you tell us about what's yet to come? What's yet to come in the future as we get into 2021, 2022, and so forth? What do you see the city looking like then?
You know, I see it thriving. I see it, you know, just it being vibrant in every way. Amazon's turned out to be an absolute magnet. You know, there's certain, it's just like you build certain structures of any kind of business or you know, any type of store, or Amazon's got a following just like other things have a following. So we've had a lot of businesses that have come to talk to us from all over the country that have asked about where they can fit in around the Amazon site to build different fast food venues, different restaurants. Certainly we had some things that were already on the table in terms of travel plazas by the toll road, things of that sort. And so we've had other businesses that know that want to, and certainly other freight and transport, because of Amazon, that want to get in place, different logistic places that want to come in near the site. But then on our west corridor of 159th, the shopping center is changing as a result of it as well. So different stores are trying to make a move to come in because they know that, hey, listen, the population of that building is about another 2,000-3,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2,000 or 3,000 people that are going to need different services and different wares and different means of a lot of services that can be sold, bought, and sold, and that's going to be revenue. And so we have different, again, restaurants and strip malls, small strip malls that want to build west of Kedzie now.
Wow.
So going that far into the community. And so we're constantly at the table with different venues that want to come into Markham all the time.
Now, Mayor, a lot of people see you, and it's refreshing. We get a lot of emails and calls about the fact that you are a hands-on mayor, and you could even be caught outside of your vehicle, out on the sidewalk, looking at sidewalks, looking at light poles, talking to residents, just getting out and getting amongst the people. Is that you? How do you do that? Why is that so important to you to do that, to have that feeling with that connection with your residents?
You know, that's so much of what the job is. I think I embraced that the same way I did in the fire service, of being all in and all involved in all the aspects of the job. And this one requires that. Mayoring is not, you know, being dressed some certain way just to go to some function or business meeting or whatever.
And let me cut you off, Mayor.
Yes.
And would it be safe to say you have a city administrator named Derek Champion? He was on the show a few months ago, and you know, one could say that, hey, he's always impeccably dressed, right? And then you're always in, obviously, the Markham attire. But one looked at the both of you, they say, well, which one is the mayor and which one is the city administrator, or who is who? And he often joked about that because you are hands-on and you believe you want to have something where you can roll up your sleeves, huh, Mayor?
Well, you know, if you know, part of being the mayor is not just going to, like I was going to say, the business meeting. Some of it is that you might have to go visit the public works director at a water main or a sewer break. And so a lot of good that suit's going to do you. Certainly my wife trying to take it to the cleaners, and she ain't get too happy about that. But, you know, that's part of it, being on a fire scene or even you know, unfortunate scene at a police matter, or, you know, or going to a building inspection with the building inspection people or code enforcers. you have to be out there to know it. You're not going to know it. How are you going to know if the sidewalk really is an issue, or if the tree needs to get cut down unless you stop by to see it? And the legislators here, which are good ones, they're going to want to know. They're not going to nickel and dime me or be picky about everything, but they'll want to make sure that we're doing good things with the people's finance, and we're making sure that, did it cost that much to do it? Well, if I was there, I can certainly tell you that it really did cost that much.
And talking about finances now, right? Where are we in the city of Markham? I know some cuts were made, some different things were done. Are we getting on stable ground? Are we on stable ground? What does our future look like?
Well, you know what? It's unfortunate, not just Markham, but so many communities have, and certainly in the Southland. That's why when we talk about business and development and revenue, Amazon was not just good for Markham, it's good for the region of what it draws and what it brings, and how many people will benefit from it. And again, you always have an naysayer about what you will or won't get, but there's enough benefits over there for me, I'll tell you, and I think a lot of other people will say here, well, it's better than what the land served before it was over there, which was nothing.
Exactly.
You got nothing from it before, and certainly there's more from it today. But Markham, just as anywhere else, had a huge deficit. This isn't the first time that a community, this community even specifically, I know 2 mayors ago, that mayor had taken over a huge deficit.
But you were able to slice the deficit by $1 million. Really,
the first year we cut $1 million.
Wow.
We had to, and we continue to cut even to the second year.
And still not losing services, right?
No, we never cut public works. We never cut police or fire service at all. We had a huge deficit, and we needed to. And over that time, we probably had about 46, 47 employees that are no longer with us. But we found a way to, we knew that we have to restructure, rebuild, and now we have, I can think of one employee that speaks 3 languages.
Yes.
We have another employee, a couple of other employees that speak at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got people that are multifaceted, and so they're able to do more than one thing. And it's unfortunate we had some people who couldn't do one good job. That's how that happens everywhere you go. But that wasn't really the issue for them as much as it was, the issue whether they could do one good job or not wasn't the issue. The issue was whether we could afford that.
Right.
And doing one job and whether we could even pay to do it was the issue. And so that's how we managed that effort. And when you have those insights and that kind of understanding, that's how I understand it. It's about what we can afford to do and trying to make the best of what we can do at the same time. So you have to put those 2 elements together. So we're much better off by far. I think that the cuts that we even will make this budget will be far less than they've ever been.
And not doing anything to stop any of the
No services interrupted.
no service.
No.
Now down to my final couple questions, Mayor. What do you think are some of the traits that make a great mayor? What do you think? What would you say if someone said, what are some of the traits?
To me, of course, I get it pointed out, but if I look at any mayor, I'm looking at service.
Right.
I'm looking at, are they service driven? Are they compassionate? Do they have a passion for what they do? Do they understand why they're doing it? It's again, I think it's one of those things I said about some things biblically, and that you got some people that they may follow something or believe something, but do they really know why? And so a mayor needs to understand what they're doing and why. And I think that they also need to know what's on the other side of what you should be doing. And so that goes into vision.
Right.
So that goes into say, well, what is this thing supposed to look like and where's it going? And I think that that's one thing that I was always clear about. Certainly of what I was able to see, not what Markham looked like now, but what it'll look like later. And I could see that. And I think that when we talk about challenges of a city,
Yes, sir.
I needed to know, and that's a trait that any mayor should have. I need to know if I can get other people to see it with me. And so we choose people that are service driven, that have a passion for people and compassion for them and want to serve. This is what this is about here, and that's what I'm about. And definitely we want, so, and the other thing is I got a lot of worker bees, so to speak. I think that since I'm a big worker, I like to work and hands-on. I have a lot of people that don't mind coming early and staying late.
And they share the same vision, right?
Right.
As you share. Can you leave us with one final thought? And obviously, we appreciate you coming on Markham Perspectives. As the residents look at this show today and they look at you as their mayor, talk to them about what the future holds for the city of Markham. What should they expect? You've laid out clearly a new vision, a whole new culture. But what's at the end of that culture? What should we expect? What's that? What are we doing this all for? What does this all mean?
You know, I think that people again want to have a place where they live, where there's some peace and some tranquility, and I think that there is a place where they can walk to the park, that they can have some good places, where they go to their church. And recreation and all these things that any other community has, where you can feel safe and it's clean and you feel that you're prospering. I think that people should be able to prosper. I think that the things that you shouldn't have to shop somewhere else to get something.
Right.
And all those things in your community should be available to you. And I think that it comes as a result of how we handle these things.
Mayor, I want to say thank you for spending this time with us, for coming on Markham Perspectives, and hopefully, we'll have you on again. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm glad to come back. Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. A beautiful interview with our mayor, Mayor Roger Agpawa. And let me just say this. We had so many emails. When is the mayor going to come and sit down on Markham Perspectives? Well, you know what? He's out there in the community doing the work that only he can do. And let me say this. It was worth the wait. So we want to say a special thank you to our mayor. The city is on track. As you can see, the mayor is excited for what's yet to come. Thanks for tuning in to Markham Perspectives. I'm your host, Michael Taylor. Until we see each other next time, have a great day.